All right, so those are the two big ways. You can use something like Hootsuite, or you can do natively using TweetDeck for Twitter and Facebook. Or you can link them all together. So you can link, if you've got a WordPress, for example, you can link your Facebook to it, you can link your Twitter to it. If you've got Twitter and Facebook, you can link them together. You've all seen it. Every time somebody posts to Twitter, or unless it's easier this way, this happens more often. Anytime somebody puts a picture in Facebook and they've linked it to their Twitter, a tweet will go out that said, I posted a new picture, and then this just gross link. And that's all it says. It's horrible. Do not do that. Do not do that. Your WordPress, if you're using WordPress or any other blogging system that allows you to connect. So what we did, and I just realized this a couple weeks ago, so I'm actually going to show you our horrible, horrible mistake, because I left it up there just for this. And this is what happens, and this is just another note. So I manage it with a coworker. We kind of oversee it, but we have other people in there doing stuff. So John helps us out. We got some blog posts written by a couple other people. That's great to have more people, more content, more ideas. Figure out a way to do it, sending emails, and then one person manages getting the stuff out, having multiple people inside of it. If you're going to do it our way, having multiple people inside of it, you need to have very clear conversations about who the ownership belongs to. Because what we're finding is Janelle and I always followed it all the way through. And we asked people to help provide content, but what we didn't make very clear is then you are the owner of that content. You need to go check the page, make sure that it went out, it looks nice. If people are commenting, you're responding, and those types of things. So you just need to make sure you have those conversations so everybody understands the expectations. Okay. This is what happens when you link your pages. Additionally, if you go to my page, you can see what I did to my student workers 2 weeks ago. It was awesome. Made them get in this room and then get that little cage and get out of it.
Oh, that's the thing you were talking about.
Yeah, it was excellent. So this is what happens. This is what's happening with our Hootsuite post right now. This used to have a really nice picture of a book cover. Now it just says that. That's awful. But this is what happened a while back. If I can get a couple of them on the page at the same time. All right, well, one at a time. We posted a bunch of things about Privacy Week to our blog.
Oh no.
The person who put them in the blog didn't realize that the Flickr widget is connected, and it was connecting to Facebook and Twitter. If you have your Flickr connected to your WordPress, it takes the most recent picture you've posted in Flickr and just attaches it to the Facebook post. So there's like 12 posts about Privacy Week with a picture of a table full of canned goods for a canned good drive. Whoops. The minute I realized it, I mean, there are things, I said a lot of things that I'm not going to say because Joe's filming me here, but it was not pretty, and I thought, oh my gosh, how did no one catch this? And no one caught it because we got to the point where we were willing to give up control of it because it is time consuming. Even when you find a way to manage it, it is time consuming, and eventually you just kind of run out of ideas and you want to, freshen it up, because I'll just post it, like, my voice is my voice, and it, I kind of get in a rut sometimes. So I'm interested about the things I'm interested in. John has completely different interests than I do in a lot of ways, and he's a male voice, and we've been dominated by female voices for a while. So it's nice to get other people in. It's just you have to make sure you understand who owns it at the end of the day. And even if you're bringing people into it, you got to make sure you're monitoring it, because canned goods will happen if you don't. The best part of this,
Takeaway.
yeah, the best part is the canned good picture was posted last October. So not only is it a ridiculous picture, but it's super old because the person who posts to Flickr hasn't posted to Flickr since October.
There are just general issues with photos, and especially when you're linking to something on the web in Facebook. It looks at the code in that page, and it just doesn't always know what picture you want. Sometimes you get the option to scroll through the thumbnails and pick the one that you want. Other times you just don't. We've been very frustrated. We have the Polaris catalog, and one of the things they really sold us on was how easy it was to share books or lists of books to your social media. Well, that's true, but the pictures don't show up, and so they're ugly. I'm glad that we can post them on Facebook sometimes occasionally a picture shows up and it's like, yay, we all run around, we high five each other. And then the next day Liz comes to me and she's like, I posted a book and there's no book jacket. It's totally random, it makes no sense, but it is as much a problem with Facebook as it is with whatever it is that you're linking to. So don't feel like it's just you and you're doing something wrong. Facebook's very weird about where it grabs images from.
Absolutely. And just like Karen mentioned earlier, the fun, quirky photos, that's what people love. The thing that got the most hits for us on Facebook, we do an annual haunted library, and yeah, event of the year, based on student votes. So excited. Anyways, so we had to do this haunted library. It's so popular that it takes you over an hour to get through the line. So after the first year, because we had no idea what was going to happen, and then there were 300 people standing in line for 4 hours, and they were getting cranky. And so the next year what we did is we set up a photo booth, and our communication specialist stood there with the camera and she took everybody's picture, and we posted every single one of them to Facebook in an album. And so they're all here. They had like little... It was unbelievable. We put them out in batches over the course of the next like 2 weeks, just because it was a lot of photos. She would have been sitting there for 2 days straight uploading these, so she did a batch every now and then. People loved this. They could go and see their photo, because you can download a photo off of Facebook, and then they could have it, you know, and they had this memento from the night. We didn't have to worry about, originally we thought we'd get the Polaroid cameras and we'd be able to hand them. That doesn't work because it's only one picture and there's these giant groups. Everybody gets to keep it. They can go grab it. There's all sorts of conversations happening on these photos, talking about the night and how much fun they had, and it's unbelievable. Those types of things are things people really, really like. So I'm less concerned about the fact that the book albums won't go out anymore, because we should just do more of this anyway. So, any other questions about things you guys have come up against or are wondering about? I'm curious, how many people in here manage their social networking at their library? Okay.
You know what, I'm curious to know, how many of you have a policy at your library about that? Okay, so maybe about half of the people, because I know you mentioned that you have to worry about the university policy. I know a very small public library in the Chicago area that has a 27-page long social media policy. I think we're overthinking things just a wee bit there. As if anybody knows what it says, okay? I mean, as if once you've even read it, you know, like it isn't just whoosh, gone. So, I don't know. I feel like what I've often said to directors and other people about that kind of stuff is, do you sit at the reference desk all day and monitor what your staff is saying to the public? Do you sit there and go, I don't like the way, wait, what did you just say to that woman on the phone? No, wait, don't say that, say it this way. What did you just say to that, you know, you don't do that. So this is the same way. This is interaction and engagement with our community. If I've hired you at my library, I certainly hope I trust you enough not to do anything really weirdsmobile on the social media. And there's always the delete button. That being said, like someone was telling me the other day about a coworker at her former library who posted some stuff that, yeah, I would have said, you know, I'm sorry, that's very cool hipster stuff you're doing there, keep it on your personal page. It was, you know, language that I just, you got to remember at a public library we're dealing with, you know, everything from infants to seniors, and we just don't want to do anything that makes us look, again, insensitive to people's personal values or whatever it is. But on the other hand, you know, especially in the evening, I will, you know, maybe post a music article or something that was more appropriate for adults, and I've never once had a complaint or a problem about it. But it is all stuff that you know, should be thinking about. But a policy, we don't have one. We probably should, but since I'm doing like 98% of it, I guess I'm the policy. Tina?
We don't have a written policy, but we have talked about it where we don't want one post right after the other. So if somebody else has posted, don't post, wait a little while. And there are only, I think, 3 or 4 people who can post on Facebook, and one of the reasons for that is we want to make sure we have correct grammar and spelling. That's really big for us.
Sure. You know, it's so funny. I'm like spelling fanatic. I was like little Miss Spelling Bee when I was a kid, you know, and I've had other people say, oh, it's social media, relax, who cares? But one time I just linked to an article from one of our local nonprofits, so it wasn't my writing, but the little blurb that came up with the article did have some incorrect grammar in it. First person within 5 minutes writes, I can't believe a library would post something that poorly written. which then put me in the awkward position of at least wanting to defend this nonprofit, which works with Down syndrome children. You know, I was like, you know, really? Of all the people I don't want, you know, you want to sometimes like fighting words with me. I was just like, don't pick on these kids, they're adorable, you know. So all I said was, this was a link to a post from another resource. We don't have any way of changing it, but I hope that you appreciated the information contained there anyway. You know, it was one of the few times when I, you know, kind of felt like I needed to respond, and I will be with you in 1 second, Mary, but, yeah, no, she's deferring to you.
I was just gonna say, we've actually taken the opposite tact as Tina's library. I think we have like 10 administrators now on our Facebook page, because we've had staff that said, I love Facebook, can I? And we actually did a training session for staff on social networking library style. Mm-hmm. And at that session, I had one of my staff, I tweet, I Pinterest, and I'm like, you can manage everything you want, just because we want to make sure we're getting it out there, and it falls to the bottom of my list regularly.
Sure.
So we've taken the opposite.
Yeah, Pinterest, we have a lot more people involved. There was absolutely no way I could manage all those different boards and keep them interesting. Did you still want it? Yes?
Yeah, if you have a staff member who is given permission to post on your tweet, whatever, and they do something inappropriate, what do you do?
Chastise them?
I would just talk to them, you know.
You take the tweet.
I would delete it.
I would delete it, yeah, and then I would go and talk to them. I clearly have no problem throwing people under the bus, and so I was just like, hey, John, there's nothing bus. John knows, we banter. Yeah, but I would just go and talk to them, and if it keeps happening, then you just have to have that conversation where you say, I'm so sorry, your voice just doesn't match what we're looking for.
Right, that's a really good way of putting it, yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing that we tell people is this is the library's public face.
Right.
You know, we want to be presenting the library in the best possible light.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think we fear that a lot more often than the reality of it happening, though.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. I really haven't had, the only time I've ever had to delete something from a coworker was at my former job, where she accidentally posted a personal article to the library blog. It was hilarious. Like, I just went in one day and I looked at the blog and I'm like, what is that? You know, she was just learning about it. So, I mean, I did not come down hard on her at all. I just said, oh, Sarah, I'm deleting that because that was really random and weird.
Yeah. We actually don't make, so myself and Janelle, who created our pages and all that, are the only two admins through our personal profile. The other people who post to it do it through Hootsuite or the generic login for the Facebook page. No one else has been made an admin to avoid those situations, because it's really easy to forget to change post as a page and type as yourself.
Yeah.
It is so easy to do.
Yeah, and the way we've solved that, Sarah, is if you want to be a Facebook admin, you have to create a separate. So like all of my Facebook admins have a separate login for their Facebook.
Right, yeah.
A lot of them are like Sarah at the library, you know, so they can clearly keep
Yeah,
them
absolutely.
straight.
Yeah, you gotta watch that. Couple other just like little things. Decide if you're gonna talk to yourself as like with the royal we or in the third person. Our new thing is to just say at your library. So we actually don't say Brookins all that often. We have this new, I don't know if you guys saw it when the Facebook page was up. Our communications specialist is an incredibly talented graphic designer. And so she created this talk to your librarian thing that we're using for consultations, research consultations. So right now that's up there. One of my biggest pet peeves is, I'm not saying don't ever do it, but don't always have a picture of your building as your profile picture. We say all the time.
People. Have people.
Yeah, we say all the
Cares about
time that we're not buildings of
Yeah,
books, but then we put up pictures of buildings filled with books. And just don't do it. And change out your profile picture and your cover photo regularly. Not
Sorry,
constantly.
I don't remember what's on mine, so I'm like panicking now.
Me too.
Yeah. So
Oh, you can't see it very well, but it looks, Harry, it's the Summer Library Club reading draft, so
and
we hide him in the library, and kids have to find him and then they get a sticker, so.
And did you notice we both had our library logos as our profile picture? And then use the cover. Now that you have this big, huge cover photo, this photo's not nearly as important anymore. This one's super important. So this one can stay as your, something really simple and basic. We change this out a little bit, but we typically stick to something that's close to our logo. And then we change this guy out. It's not as easy to do on Facebook because there's no place to really say, but on the top of our Twitter page, I say explicitly who is posting. So it says, hey, we're Sarah, John, and Janelle. We're behind the tweets at UIS Live, the worst name on the face of the planet for a Twitter feed. And, feel free to @reply us.
Is that really what it says? Worst name ever for Twitter feed?
No, that part's not in there. That was,
Oh, it's in our line.
you gotta close it back.
They're really just cringing every time we repeat it.
Yeah, but what I've realized when we did that, this is a small campus, and a lot of my job is interacting with students at student life and student affairs things, so I just know a lot of students on campus outside of the library. They liked knowing that I was one of the people behind it, because then they'll come and talk to me face to face about something they really liked on our Twitter page. They're like, that tweet was so cool, I really liked that book, or that event was really fun, or thanks for posting that photo, I was in it, that was a great night, and those types of things. So it's really interesting how just saying who you are actually will get people to come up and talk to you in person about what you're putting up on your social network.
Are there other Twitter accounts across the campus?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And we partner really well, and again, this is, it's different based on the type of library that you are. We have all these connections. Our UIS Facebook page, my personal opinion, is one of the best Facebook pages out there for a university, particularly of our size. We have a very talented person behind it. Huh? Oh, yeah. His name is Blake, and he's just amazing. But this is his job. This is all he does. And so he is so diligent about posting. I was with him on New Year's Eve, and at midnight, I kid you not, he stopped, he posted, then he came back to the toast. Dedication. He has it all on his phone, and he will respond because we get a lot of engagement on this page. People want to know where do they go to find out about financial aid. They just put a post, they ask other students, do you like it there? I'm interested in the business department. Any business students who want to tell me what it's like. He monitors all of it, and he is so quick with the response, it doesn't matter what time of the day it is, and he'll point them to the right place. So because they have so much engagement, I go to him all the time. If there's a post I'm going to put out for an event that I'm really excited about and I really want to get the word out, I'll call him and say, hey Blake, I'm going to put this up tomorrow sometime around noon. If you could just share it on the UIS page, I'd really appreciate it. And he loves doing it, because like I said, we like to share each other's things, but I'll actually call and say, this one, share this one. And that works out really well for us. It's a little different, based on the type of library you are and what your community is like that way. But that's a really great way to know the other people behind the scenes at places that you want to connect with or that you work with a lot. It's an easy way to continue to get the word out to different audiences.
I have a personal Twitter account. I was very late coming to the Twitter table, and I don't tweet very well. I'm still a novice, but I want to create one for my school library. How do I do that? And so most of the time that'll be managed from my work iPad and my phone. I don't know how to set up a new account and then switch back and forth. Like if I want to tweet something personally, is it real easy? Like on Facebook, I have a Facebook page for my library, which I know I can just go down to the pages that I manage, click, type it in, click back to my personal page. How does that work in Twitter?
Different apps. If you're going to do it from a mobile device of any sort, have different apps.
And
So
one
I can
is,
put the app on there twice?
2 different apps.
No,
So-
different,
Like
like
tweet-
use
yeah.
TweetDeck for your personal one and use Hootsuite for your work one or
Yeah.
something, and you can keep them logged in all the time. But you'll have to create that Twitter account first with maybe your work email, a different name.
The one who's shown.
Yes,
It's not real easy to juggle back and forth like that with Twitter. And even with Facebook, I don't use the same personal Facebook account to manage the library's page as I do for my real life. But it isn't like just snap, go back and forth.
Yeah. I have 2 separate apps, so I use Twitterrific for my Twitter, and I use Hootsuite for the library, and I keep them on separate pages. Like an iPad, you have pages, or an iPhone, or, so they're not even on the same page.
good idea.
Alleviate the
I
temptation
do
to.
want to put my Facebook and the school Facebook and the school Twitter into Hootsuite, which I've never used before, so.
Yeah, Hootsuite's really, it's really great for consuming, because you can consume it all at the same time, you can monitor all, it's easy, and you need to monitor it.
I wanted to just jump in. One of the things we heard from mentors was that people were like, how do I keep up with what's new? And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. Oh, Sarah.
It just really wants to record you.
It does, and I don't want to be recorded. It's very shy.
This is go, Sarah.
Another 7 minutes.
So Mashable is sort of the fun way to keep up with what's going on in social media. Social media today is a little more of the brainiac version of that, when you need statistics and studies and analysis of what's going on in social media, and then just actually get on Twitter and follow some people. That's sort of one of the best ways to figure out what's going on with social media. But Mashable, I like Mashable a lot because it's big and it has all the resources of like a big media company, but it doesn't have what I think of as the mainstream media's take on social media, which is either to be alarmist and paranoid about it. Oh my God, Facebook's going to destroy your privacy and children are bullying each other 24 hours a day, which is unfortunately like what my mother hears, So every time I say I posted something on Facebook, she's like, oh no, the horrible downfall of society. I'm like, Mom, really, it's okay. But, like CNN has a regular thing written about social media called apparently this matters, oh, I'm too cool for this really, but I'm going to act like it. Mashable does not take that tone, but yet they're doing like big things. Here's like what they say about themselves: leading source for news, information, and resources for the connected generation, 20 million monthly unique visitors, 6 million social media followers. I follow them on Facebook all the time. Not Facebook, I'm lying. I do follow them on Facebook. I follow them on Twitter, which is even helpful for retweets for the library. We have a big business community in Barrington, so I share things about how businesses and nonprofits can use social media. And I also even connect with them on LinkedIn. They have a Mashable, fans group on LinkedIn where they share and discuss articles and things like that too. So there's lots of ways to connect with them. What are the kinds of things you find there? These are some recent headlines. 17 how-to Vine videos that won't teach you anything, which I thought was kind of hilarious. 3 manly Pinterest alternatives for your beard and bacon needs. How to hide Facebook posts from your boss, which is something that we all need. And I think what might be the greatest social media related headline ever: tweet a Vine of Instagram of Tumblr post a Facebook update. Somebody did that. So somebody tweeted a Vine video of a picture on Instagram of a Tumblr post that was based on a Facebook update. So it just, your brain kind of spins and says, obviously they were doing it to be ridiculous, but nevertheless, that's the kind of craziness that goes on Mashable. But again, social media today, especially if you've got a boss or a board or somebody who's like, oh, why are we wasting so much time on this stuff? Or not taking it very seriously. They think it's just kind of fun and games. You can go there and find, real hard numbers and research to back up what you're doing. And again, just get on Twitter and become an engaged, creative user yourself by seeing what other people are doing. Andy?
The lesser sites like Google Plus and LinkedIn and stuff, how much time do you spend on those?
I got a Google Plus account and then that was it.
Yeah.
The library isn't on it. I personally am on LinkedIn and, I'm surprised. I've connected with a lot of people there, but that's maybe a once a week trip because somebody wants to add me, as a connection or I want to update something. Pinterest, like I said, my library is on Pinterest, but we have a big group of maybe 10 people contributing to that. We all sat together in a room and I said, who's interested in what? So like the youth services folks were like crafts, we want to do crafts, and we want to do finger plays, and we want to do literacy stuff, and I do a travel board for the library, and I do, we have a what adult services is reading, what youth services is reading. Those are some boards that get a lot of views and stuff on Pinterest. So it's hard to juggle, but I don't do those things as much.
Can I just say one quick thing?
Yeah, sure.
So Mashable, in addition to being awesome to follow, has some really great guides. So like the Mashable guide to Twitter, period. And so a lot of the things we didn't go over is, and I did this a little bit in my session last time, but if you're wondering what's the difference between a hashtag and a handle and a this and a that and a blah, 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 it's They're really great guides, and then it gives you best practices. So it really, really just lays it all out for you. So it's also a great resource when you're getting started. Go ahead and read those guides.
You know, kind of just what we were talking about. When people ask me, you know, should my library be on Pinterest? Should my library have a Tumblr blog? You know, that kind of depends. I mean, do you have the resources to handle all of that? We're stretched pretty thin at Barrington right now, and I don't think I could take on any captain. I can't take. She can't take anymore. But you know, that's just a decision that your organization has to make. Reddit is, you know, the front page of the internet, they call it, and Reddit can really freak people out. But when I went to the I.O. Festival last year, which is a festival of designers and hackers and graphics people and people that are doing mind-boggling things with technology, this is like the only thing they were talking about.
Me too.
Facebook was just like, you know, their moms were on Facebook, they were done with it, they were way moving on. So even if you don't like it, even if it gives you the courage to look at it sometimes, because Reddit basically is people posting stuff and other people vote on it to decide what's more interesting and what's cooler and hipper and what is not. So that's just a screenshot of what was happening. Yeah, Andy?
Would you guys would you make a channel, a Reddit channel?
No,
Okay.
not yet, no.
Okay.
You can be a Redditor by, you know, being someone who contributes, but I like the way they have different ways of defining themselves. We power awesome communities. That's kind of what we've talked about community a lot in I Lead USA, so that's an interesting idea. That's how they see themselves. This is a place friendly to thought, relationships, arguments, and to those that wish to challenge those genres. That's a user's definition of what Reddit is. So don't be afraid of it. At least take a look at it so you know what it is. Yeah.
Could you talk just briefly, because we have like a minute left, but, you know, as these new, like the Vine and now Reddit, as these new social networking options are coming up, how do you determine what you're going to do and what you're not?
As an individual or as an institution?
No, as an institution.
For the library, I would take a wait and see approach. Let's learn about it. Let's, as librarians, understand it. So when our patrons come in and ask about it, we're not like, what? You know, I have no idea what you're talking about. But I wouldn't jump on it unless it seemed like it had some staying power. Pinterest just kind of like blew up, and it just seemed big, big, big. A lot of patrons were asking us about it. We did some classes on it, and that was when we made the determination to jump on it. But you know, Vine is kind of weird because you got to have the app and you got to have certain technology to really contribute to that. So,
And it goes back to the people. You have to have the people to support all of them. And at the end of the day, if you do Facebook and Twitter well, that's great. Don't do Facebook and Twitter and Vine and this and that and blah, blah, kind of well. Or kind of okay. That's not awesome. And the ways to know that you're doing it well in our last seconds, literally.
no, actually, we're until 10:15. We won't hold that long, but we can.
That's amazing. Well, let's just slow down for a second. Hootsuite, Facebook. I couldn't find them in TweetDeck, so if somebody can show me where they are, that'd be awesome. But Hootsuite has phenomenal analytics. Facebook has great analytics. They call them Insight. Go and look and see what things are getting clicks. Don't just use the likes. People will like anything.
Yeah.
They will like
Yep.
anything. But are they clicking on the link and following through to what the thing is that you're advertising? Go and look at those. And that's also a really great way when you sit down, if you've got a lot of people on there and you've got somebody who you think maybe their stuff isn't, it's just not right. It's not bad. There's just something off about it. You can usually, typically speaking, you could assume that those are probably going to be getting less hits and follow-throughs on the links. So that's a really great way to couch it, because you can just sit down as a group when you do it, and you should have regular, like, just conversations every now and then with everybody who does it. And you can say, hey, look, these are the posts that are getting the most hits. These aren't. Let's try to do more like this, not just more of this, but more like this. And that's an easy way to not personally say, so your stuff sucks. You can just kind of put it in this, looks like this is what's popular right now. Let's do more of this kind of thing and see if that works for you too.
Like for me, I'm like the weirdo in the group. I'm the librarian who doesn't like to read fiction. So I'm like clueless about it, you know? I mean, I can't like even force myself to read those books. I just go, great,
You're not that unusual.
So I'm so delighted that I have these librarians who will say to me, can I please like post about, you know, great new romance books on Facebook or something, or great YA novels? And I'm like, yeah, please do it, because I'm just going to sound like I have no idea what I'm talking about. I have 2 other librarians who send me tweet suggestions about fiction, about ebooks in particular. And that's just so helpful to me. So, if you open yourself up, it can't be about my personal likes and interests when I'm working for the library. Yeah, sure, sometimes if I can sneak something about you too into our Twitter feed, I'm very happy. But I can't do that, even like once a week without it starting to look silly. So I think it's important that you're speaking for everyone on your staff and all their interests and all that great pool of knowledge that they bring with them to work every day. So by all means, connect with them. And don't just become like the guardian of the Twitter and no one else can touch it. Yes?
I just wanted to share because I was part of the team that did our social media policy, and it was mainly because we had a lot of cooks in the kitchen,
Mhm.
and